Rohit Sharma is going to Australia after all. Those of you who saw my other video asking questions about his omission, I think somewhere somebody realized that it would be foolhardy not to take one of your best batsmen on a tour that I guarantee you is going to be very difficult. The reason I say that is because this time around, Australian batting strength is full. David Warner, Steve Smith are going to be batting, and both of them are going to be a handful. Then you have the other batsmen around them, Marcus Labuschagne and Marsh. There is a lot of batting talent in Australia. Backed with that, they have an excellent bowling. Australia's bowling also is very strong, considering the fact that you have Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins who can go at the batsman all the time, and they have a couple of other bowlers who can hold it while these two are used to attack the batting. Now you have to look at how Australia whitewashed India in 2011, and I think that is what they are going to try and do this time around also. Why I say that is because you see the first test is going to be a day and night test, and that's going to be played in Adelaide. Adelaide tends to be one of the better batting wickets. However, in a day and night match, and if you prepare the pitch just right, it is going to help swing and seam a lot. What happened in 2011? We have to remember that India, with perhaps the best batting lineup at that time, India had Virendra Sehwag, India had Gautam Gambhir, you had Rahul Dravid, who had just had a dream series in United Kingdom, even though India got whitewashed 4-0 there. Then you had Sachin Tendulkar, you had VVS Lakshman and Virat Kohli, and yet they lost 4-0. And one has to only look at Rahul Dravid's dismissals to understand why India fared so badly. Well, what the Australians did in that series for the test matches, I'm not going to talk about the ODI leg and the T20 leg here, because to me, cricket is played best when there is an even contest between bat and ball, and you get to see that only in test matches where everything is tested. That is why it's called a test match. Anyway, back to 2011. What had happened was that the space between the wickets, if you think of the wickets on both sides, then you have the 10 inches or so of the strip that is covering just the wickets. That part, the Australian groundsman had left it green, and the rest of the pitch was completely laid dry. So what ended up happening was the bowlers, especially the spin bowlers, did not get much help from the wicket. On the other hand, the fast bowlers, who tend to deviate the ball just a little bit this way or that way, they got a lot of purchase, because if they put it at the right corridor, they could do magic. I mean, you had Ben Hilfenhaus clean bowling Rahul Dravid so many times, and Rahul Dravid is the wall, and the wall was being breached at will. And this kind of a wicket, if that is cleverly done by the Aussies, and I expect them to do that, in Australia are very difficult to beat. And you have to remember that in the 77-78 series, the second string Australian 11 managed to defeat the first string Indian 11 3-2 in the test match series. It was a thrilling series, but India came to know of many players who perhaps played only in one series, because after that the regular team was back. So the Australia are difficult to beat in Australia, and with that in mind, I think if they do these kinds of things, that I think that the test match series is going to be really, really difficult. The reason I also say that is one of the best batsmen that India has is arguably Virat Kohli, and he's not going to be available after the first test. It's very interesting. They have 4 test matches. They're only saying, the BCCI is only saying that he will be leaving the team after the first test match on paternity leave. Well, that's going to be at least 3 weeks after that for the test matches. I mean, there's going to be test matches for a period of about 3 weeks. And does it mean that he will not be returning back to Australia? They could have given some clarity on that. Now that Rohit Sharma is going, would that mean that he would be taking up the slot that would be left by Virat Kohli? I don't know. But if I look at the test squad for batting, India most likely for the first two tests at least would start with Mayank Agarwal as the opener, and it remains to be seen who they will choose as his partner. Would it be Prithvi Shaw or Shubman Gill, or would it be someone like KL Rahul? We have to wait and see who that would be. Then number 3, of course, is Cheteshwar Pujara, and he is going to carry a lot of weight on his shoulders for the batting. Once Cheteshwar Pujara goes, Indian batting kind of tends to be a little wobbly. Number 4, for the first test, Virat Kohli. For the second test, I expect Ajinkya Rahane to come into number 4. Number 5 would be, in case Rahul doesn't open, would be KL Rahul at number 5, with number 6 position being occupied by, I don't know, Hanuma Vihari perhaps, or Shubman Gill again. So it depends who they use in that point. Number 7 would be Rishabh Pant. 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 bowlers. And those would be, in my opinion, Jasprit Bumrah for sure, R. Ashwin for sure. And I expect R. Ashwin to be played for all 4 tests for the simple reason that the best bowler that Australia have in the spin department is Nathan Lyon. So whatever pitch preparation that they are going to make, they're going to make it to favor their off spinners. So for like to like, I would like to see Ashwin play in all 4 test matches, provided he is fit. And I can also tell you that he's a better bat and under Australian conditions than some of the options that India has. For example, Ravindra Jadeja may be a better fielder, but I think, in my opinion, batting wise, Ashwin has better potential to play the long innings. So you have Jasprit Bumrah, Ravichandran Ashwin, Mohammad Shami. So who's going to be the holding bowler? This holding bowler used to be Ishant Sharma, but Ishant Sharma is injured. He's not fully fit. So who is going to be taking up that spot? Is it going to be Mohammad Siraj? Is it going to be Navdeep Saini? Or is it going to be somebody else? Because I don't know if all these players, all these bowlers, fast bowlers especially, will last the entire series. Remember that the test matches are coming towards the end of the series, which means some of these players who might be also playing the ODIs and T20s could get hurt, in which case India's bowling would be tremendously depleted. So Ishant Sharma suddenly becomes somebody that India really, really needs, because you need a person who will hold the runs. I don't see Umesh Yadav doing that because his record doesn't reflect that. And therefore, who else could there be? So that is a question that the selectors would have to ask. So in my opinion, India's batting may be okay, but bowling, it's not very, very strong, except in Sydney, where they can perhaps field 2 bowlers. The other test matches, they are going to have a problem. So at this composition, I somehow feel that India should be seriously thinking of bringing in Kamlesh Nagarkoti. You don't want a fast bowling talent like his to be tested on the dry, low, slow pitches of India. You want them to be tried on pitches where it yields help. And I hope that Kamlesh Nagarkoti becomes fit. And if in case one of the main fast bowlers become unfit, he plays, you should play in the 11, in my opinion. India is not going to do well. I can tell you a 2-2 result or a 1-1 result is a dream. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry to be the naysayer here. I'm just looking at the relative strengths of the 2 teams. I just don't see that happening. Well, here you go, viewers. If you like this video, and I'd like to have your input on how you think this video was presented, please like or dislike, leave a comment, and also do not forget to subscribe. I will be giving a few short snippets right through this Australia cricket series, because I feel that India needs to really understand that cricket is something that is going to just fade away unless we restore the balance between the bat and the ball. At this time, T20 and ODI ensure that the bat dominates, and this should not be the way it is. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to P Guru's channel.